Hello and welcome to Battle 2 of Shining Force 2, the Golath. Before we get into the second battle, I just wanted a quick review of these shops, because I've actually spent a fair amount of time deciding what is in every one of these shops, to try to more or less balance out when you acquire each and every weapon. Notice in this one I've also tossed in all of the basic equipment, all of the wooden sword, wooden stick, wooden rod. The two things I've purchased in the two new items would be the short spear and the short rod. I've also gotten rid of Slade's short knife, because no one could really equip it at this point. You won't get him until you hit Gallum, and then you can always go there and buy it, and plus he starts with it. So it's really just an extraneous item that really doesn't need to be in this inventory. Bowie does not get a new weapon. I already talked about this extensively in the first battle video. But he continues with the wooden sword all the way until he hits Gallum, and that allows me to better space out the swords. As far as the other equipment goes, the items, this is the same in this shop. There's nothing really that special. So, with that, let's head off and start Battle 2. Now, this battle is actually one of my favorite battles in the game, primarily because of the enemies. So, after we get done showing our current stats, we're going to head on north. Here we go. So, you can see an Ooze has 13 defense, only 3 HP, and a Fire Rat is more like a conventional enemy, or a conventional huge rat that you'd usually see here, except that the Fire Rat has a spell, has a special ability. He belches out flames in the form of a very weak fire attack that does about 6 damage. The idea with this battle, there's reasoning behind the two differences. One is that by having a very high defense for the Oozes, it essentially means that anyone can attack them equally. This again goes with the Sarah issue with, I shouldn't say again, but this goes with the Sarah question of how do you get her up levels when she doesn't really have much MP for healing early on. And one of the ways in which you do that is by allowing her to attack the Oozes. No matter how weak she is, even if you unequipped her weapon, whatnot, she'll still at least do 1 damage, just like everyone else. The other fun thing about the Ooze is the defense amount. It's exactly at 13. And the reason it's chosen exactly 13 is because Jaha will, in a few levels, gain enough attack to do more than 1 damage. And eventually do enough, 3 damage and kill it with 1 attack. And so you will find yourself in probably the second battle, or perhaps late in the first one, where 3 of your characters will only do 1 damage, and Jaha will, kill it outright, which gives a little bit more strategy for you to plan out how exactly you want to go about passing a level. And then I think, because as I make this, I have in the back of my mind, some more inexperienced players going through it, and e-greasing a few times, and maybe using an angel wing, or maybe even letting Bowie die once or twice, and so they're a lot higher level, a lot more money than usual. I find them also then enjoying the fact that Jaha can basically just tear through these guys once he gets a high enough level. And to be fair, so would everybody else once they reach a certain level, which would be fully possible in this. It's kind of tough. There's not a whole lot of good places to hide in the first map, like here, and so I'm trying to hide on the 30% land effect, just to preserve my HP a little bit better while these come in. It's kind of long and tedious while this is happening. I put Chester up on top, on a different square, just so I wasn't so easily surrounded. I wanted to make sure there's a little bit more delay between the two, so I put one up closer. You can more easily engage, and Chester would be hit first, and then put one farther where you'd be hit second. He opted not to run off of there because I need the 30% in case Sarah can't get there and heal him. Of course Sarah will make it, that's within her range, but just in case. 2, 3, 4, yeah, she should anyway, it's only 4. And then Bowie's like, well, I don't want to get the kill because I want to save that for Jaha, so what do? Well, I just come over here and do it this way. The other nice thing about only having 3 HP is you do gain a lot of experience because you kill off 1/3 of the HP of the Oozes every single attack, again, no matter how weak you are. As for the fire rats, I found the first two battles, or the second and third battles, to be rather boring and uninteresting. Not very exciting. The first one was, of course, the first battle of the game, had its own charm and everything, but basically, battles 2 and 3 are just filler. You just engage in random battles. You might as well almost just go from battle 1 to battle 4, and you really don't need either of these. And so, as I looked at that, I said, how do I make this better? How do I make this more interesting? And also, how do I make it clear to people that you're playing a hack? You're playing something that's custom, that's really changed the game in certain ways. Because the Gizmo battle, as I said in the first video, is pretty much identical to the original game, and so it's not really apparent that you're playing anything that different. The Fire Rat, with its palette change and with its spell, makes it apparent immediately that there's something special with this hack. It's different, it's unique, and it's not like the original. It's a little disappointing I can't reach Bowie here. Kind of didn't really do that very well, but I'll cut my losses and heal somebody else instead. And so with the other thing with the Fire Rat too is it really adds a lot of spice and interest, I think, to the battle. This one a little bit, especially though the second one when it comes out. Again, the third battle. The second one of these, which are more or less identical to each other. And so you're actually gaining magic, facing enemies with magic. You're not waiting all the way until the Gala Mage or the Dark Cleric, which should be battle 5 and 6, before you encounter these type of things. You get to do it right off the bat. So there's also so many fire-breathing spells in the game that there's excess ability for me to do this. And I get Jaha, another kill here. So you can keep going up levels. The goal is to try to get to everyone to level 3 by the end of this battle, which I don't think is going to happen, but certainly doesn't hurt trying. Doesn't hurt to try. And I won't really be showing off Sarah's staff. There's kind of a downside to her staff in this, because it's a spell. You can actually use it for a spell, but that will of course one-hit kill the Oozes. And so, you know, if you want to do it that way, you can, certainly, especially if you're power leveling and whatnot. But that adds, again, a little bit more interest, spice, and ability for Sarah to just basically dominate early on. One of the things I've done throughout this entire hack is try to preserve numbers from the original game. Sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. In places where I'm successful, for instance the first battle, you know, 5 HP Oozes, or Gizmos, 10 attack, 5 defense, all of the starting characters start exactly the same, all these things. And I tried to sprinkle it all the way throughout. You know, Skeletons, I wanted to have the same stats as Kane from Shining Force 1. Gallum Soldiers wanted to still have 11 HP. I think with the Bowmasters, they have the same defense in this hack as they do in the original, even though, you know, in the original they have like 46 HP, and in this hack they have like 130 HP, so the numbers are completely different, but the defense is the same, so I keep trying to preserve all these things. One of the numbers I did preserve the whole way through are the level 1 stats for all the unpromoted characters. So Bowie, all the way up through Janet, all have their level 1 stats exactly the same. And they're, for the most part, it doesn't really make that big of a difference, because you're taking them at higher level 4, 5, and 6 and whatnot, after they've had a time to kind of equalize everything out. And so if one person starts at 5 HP rather than, say, 12, which maybe might make more sense, that's not really going to matter too much, because they're just going to be that high of a level. But in this battle, because Jaha starts at level 1, it does. He's just a little bit too weak in some ways, because the enemies are legitimately slightly stronger than they were in the original game. And yet he isn't. And so there's that little extra added challenge in trying to get him leveled up and whatnot. Oh, here's the spell. Nice. quite nice. Not quite getting the frame rate so you can see it flash on the bottom of the screen, but it's pretty close. We get Sarah all of her experience here. Let's see, yeah, it won't be enough for her level, so she'll be stuck at level 2. Sometimes this happens. You'll notice the double turns are much more common early levels and much less common later levels. Chester has the worst luck with things dodging, and Jaha has the absolute best luck in the world with getting double attacks, and I have no idea. There we go, now you can actually see the fire. Honestly, I think that more or less wraps it up. I've already talked about Bowie's sword, all the equipment earlier on. I'll talk more, I think, about Sarah's staff in the next coming battles, hopefully. It's not really anything that exciting. I'm making a big deal out of nothing, really. She's just kind of strong early on because of it. Here we go. We can finally get the kill off this rat. Look at this.